Welcome back, everyone. Today it's a roundup episode, and I have got great stories for you. As an example, Phantom Liberty is going to use a hell of a lot of your computer. Be warned. As well, No Man's Sky seeing a massive uptick in its players, and the corporate crashing and burning that is currently going on in and around Gearbox. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Okay, first we got No Man's Sky. So it's actually having its strongest month in the last few years, and this is likely for two reasons. Number one, well, Starfield came out, but number two, they actually have some new update stuff in the game. The most recent one has a new playable species, the Autophage, which are sentient robots that add their own multi-hour-long quest narrative. There's quite a few of those in that game now. Also, outlaw capital ships, which can be destroyed basically by doing a Star Wars trench run attack. Yeah, it's kind of cool. There's also Star Wars Squadron-style power, weapons, shields, energy management, mechanics for the dogfights, which of course we've also seen, say, in Starfield recently. And to go along with all that stuff, there is more reputation that you can grind up with the outlaw people so that you can get them in your fleet, which is actually all pretty damn fun. The whole like frigate and fleet mechanic stuff that they've added, well, they added ages ago and they've been kind of like refining ever since. They've been pretty damn cool. It's a funny game, right? Obviously, there was this expectation, I suppose, that some aspects of Starfield were supposed to be able to hit some kind of like No Man's Sky-like thing, which I don't think those were particularly well-founded expectations, right? It's like they're just completely different games, but certainly, like, yeah, if Starfield's got you hankering for space, in spite of, I would say, a new player onboarding experience that isn't particularly great, there is a hell of a lot to do in No Man's Sky. I was really impressed whenever I fell into it. Honestly, for like a month solid around this time last year. So absolutely, give the game a shot. Since I last played it, there's been a bunch of updates, and they've been really good. Anyway, space is clearly big enough for both games, which is certainly a nice thing. Next, then, the utter chaos going on at the Embracer Group. Now, Embracer Group, you may not have heard of them. As an example, they own THQ Nordic, Koch Media, Coffee Stain, Amplifier, Game Invest, Saber Interactive, Asmodee, which is like loads of board games and stuff, Deca, Gearbox, right? They acquired Gearbox, so, you know, Borderlands, all of that, and also Dark Horse Media. So if you are aware of, say, Dark Horse Comics, they own that. I believe as well, like, say, Middle-earth Enterprises, they hold Lord of the Rings. Now, there is this crazy situation going on where they were going to have a investment from, I think they're called, yes, Savvy Games. Now, Savvy Games are an interesting bunch. As an example, they own ESL, right? Remember when the whole story broke about a, this like Saudi-backed games investment group picking up ESL? It is them. Turned out that they were this mysterious partner. So here's the deal. They had a $2 billion deal, and after months of progress on both sides, basically the night before their earnings call, Savvy pulled out. And this then led to chaos in Embracer Group, right? Their stock price tanked, and they basically announced they're going to need to change things. Now, Reuters initially reported that the group was considering their options regarding Gearbox, the makers of Borderlands. And this is 2 weeks after there being reports of layoffs at Gearbox Publishing. Now, that's a kind of notable thing because Gearbox Publishing's actually had some good success stories. As an example, Remnant 2 has been a real standout hit for them this year. Played some of it myself. Really good game. Now, seemingly, they're going to be sold. They were acquired for $1.3 billion in 2021. And reportedly, there's a lot of options for Gearbox, right? So there could be a direct sale, even to spinning the company back out to being independent. This is some stuff per an email from the Gearbox CCO, Dan Hewitt, that Bloomberg saw, right? The base case is that Gearbox remains a part of Embracer. However, there are many options under consideration, including their transfer, taking Gearbox independent, and others. So it's a pretty crazy situation, right? Not too long after they've picked them up for $1.3 billion, they're seemingly looking to sell them again. Evidently because, well, they've had serious issues. Their CEO basically said that they are having to restructure themselves to go away from like big, just gobbling everything up investment, mergers and acquisitions mode. And they've got to transfer themselves into being a cash flow generating business, because it turns out the decade or whatever of basically free debt is over, and yes, this is basically causing issues for everybody, especially here. Now, this would seemingly be a difficult sale because analyst Serkan Toto is pointing out that $1.3 billion isn't the whole story of the company's value. So Embracer would only, be looking for potentially hundreds of millions in return rather than, say, a full billion. Looking at this, Embracer paid USD $363 million up front. Embracer agreed to pay another up to $300 million based on operational targets and up to $715 million on financial targets across 2 installments. So basically, the damage is not necessarily as bad as it would look, but you can quite obviously, you can tell that if they're strapped for cash, this may not exactly be the sort of deal that they want to keep on going with. So they're in this financial situation, and apparently they've received interest from third parties, according to 2 people. Now, who could these third parties be? And this is where it gets interesting. Could Microsoft pick them up? Right, Microsoft, they certainly do like doing acquisitions. Same goes for Sony. And then, obviously, we've got NetEase, we've got Tencent, and we also, could even have the Saudi-backed Savvy Gaming Group. What if they picked them up? That certainly, yes. That would be quite something if they then scooped in to do this. Of course, another example of a suitor could be Take-Two. Take-Two have recently done some acquisitions. I mean, they picked up Zynga. That was a pretty crazy situation. Obviously, though, Take-Two and Gearbox have worked together in the past on Borderlands, so it could be that. Next story, then. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. I think quite a few of us are pretty excited about this one. And, you got to be careful with your phrasing. So, the lead scene programmer, Philip Perchinsky, decided to take the opportunity to warn players that the 2.0 update and Phantom Liberty might, be a bit more taxing on people than previous updates, because workloads of up to 90% CPU utilization on an 8-core setup, they certainly could be something. So we basically recommended that people benchmark their system to confirm that they're good to go. And he ended in a cheeky manner referencing the 1997 Scooter hit Fire before jumping into the replies to just, talk with people about what he said. Now, that is actually where the problems began, unfortunately, because people started to take this message and the ending song very, very seriously. Yep, we've got don't let Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 melt your CPU. Will it really melt your CPU? Devs respond to fan fears. Yes, all of this sort of appeared everywhere. Within a day, he said, no, it's not going to melt your CPU, providing you haven't done anything deeply wrong, provided you meet the recommended specs. Okay, strange story. Anyway, I think the bit that is exciting, though, is a better utilization of the hardware that you've got. And as much as Red Engine is quite an interesting beast, and they are moving over to Unreal for future things, we do know that Red Engine can pump out some absolutely incredible looking visuals. So certainly, I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be my personal time to jump in. Okay, Sims 5, and before you click off because it's a casual game, no, this is actually kind of interesting. Sims is one of those games, you don't think about it that much, but it is an utter powerhouse in terms of its sales, right, and player numbers. Kind of always has been. So of course, it's built around the core of the simulation aspect, and then usually what they do is they spend years after the core Sims release just building more content and features around that, with, of course, many stuff packs and many expansions, meaning that the total cost of Sims can honestly be kind of ludicrous. And one of the main pain points the community's got is hey, you want to get the full Sims experience, get caught up? All right, here's many hundreds. By the way, yes, you spent these many hundreds, they won't come with you to the next Sims. Yeah, not particularly great. And that's actually where things are getting fairly interesting. So, there's commonly this problem, right? And even moving from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, it's you buy the new game, and somehow it feels like you're getting a lesser product than the prior iteration because it had all the updates, all the DLC, all of the, tweaks and stuff. Here's what's interesting. Project Renee is going to be a free download. Yes, basically Sims 5 is going to be free, it seems. The Sims VP, Lindsay Pearson, said that the new game will be available without a subscription, without core game purchase, or energy mechanics. I suppose that means like, mobile game sort of, like a cost on actually using the game. The eventual expansions and content packs, they of course will, they'll be the usual situation. But I think quite obviously what's happened here is they've realized, oh, what's that? We gave The Sims 4 pretty much away for free, like its base edition, and then people bought things to augment that core experience. Yeah, I think they've realized, like, this is for their business model. It's less about the humongous day one sales, and it's more about very large Sims sales numbers forever. Now, the other interesting thing is that Sims 4 is actually going to continue to exist alongside it. So basically the point here is that this game is very far away. But by saying that Sims 4 won't be going away and that it will be coming out in this sort of free fashion, I think what they're doing is they're priming their user base to continue feeling okay investing money in Sims 4. Right? I think they're trying to do that, and I suppose ease the transition period, right, between these two games, because I think the big worry is they have an amazing cash cow. They obviously are probably going to be excited about whatever Project Renee will do, right? It'll probably expand the game, make things way better, which it'll certainly have to because there's big indie competition out there of the likes of Paralives. And they need to work out, like, how does this period of change not, like, completely tank our business? Because it's always moving to the new version, like that reset, as I will be covering quite soon in a Destiny 2 video. Destiny 2 actually tanked player numbers way below Destiny 1, and at least in like its sort of start period, threatened to kill Destiny. Now, if that happens to The Sims, EA are in a lot of bother, so kind of interesting that they're handling it like this. And there's another interesting thing going on with Electronic Arts, actually, and that's Titanfall 2, because something's going on, right? We don't know what it is, but something is. Number one, player numbers have spiked, approaching its all-time peak on Steam, with, the current spike being 18,453. Now, there are sort of facts that go hand in hand here, because what's weird is that this follows Titanfall 2 getting an update, where seemingly what's happened is the majority of the crashing bugs have been dealt with, mixtape modes are seemingly rotating properly again, and private matches have came out of beta. So I suppose this is happening. I mean, it's insane to think that Titanfall 2, that was like 8 years ago. That's honestly spooky to me. But anyway, hey, Titanfall 2 has like been awesome. Apex has, I think, got more people interested in it somehow retroactively. And hey, I suppose Armored Core has probably got a bunch of people in a light Mac doing crazy shit. Maybe they want to play this now. Kind of weird though. Because like for such a long time, the status of this game was absolutely insane. And out of nowhere, it's been fixed. I mean, I'm not going to complain. This is absolutely the support that we want to see. It doesn't really seem like a full new Titanfall game is going to be happening, so that they are going to keep the one that we know is fantastic going is great. And those player numbers, like, I know it's not the top of Steam, but that is some real legit shit. So, good on EA, I suppose. And on that very bizarre note, that's it for today's episode. Oh, we've got an absolute cracker of an episode coming out on Destiny 2. So, stay tuned for that. You can check out the next video over here. And yeah, I'll see you over there.